Hey folks, welcome to Shooting Up North. I'm your host, Lewis Carlin. We're heard right here on the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. Thank you so much for joining me again today. If you're watching for the first time, please consider hitting that subscribe button. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm on Twitter at Shooting Up North. I'm on Instagram at Alliance PW Network. And feel free to join our Facebook group, the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network. Also, have a contest going right now in collaboration with Fight TV. If you want to win a free code to watch OVW's event this Saturday, March Mayhem, head on over to my Twitter page at Shooting Up North. I have all the instructions on how to enter the contest pinned to the top of my Twitter page at Shooting Up North. Go ahead, check it out, enter the contest. Maybe you could be the lucky winner of a code to watch OVW March Mayhem on March 5th, Saturday, March 5th on Fight TV. Head on over there, check it out. Enter the contest today at Shooting Up North, my Twitter page. Okay, so Johnny Gargano says he is ready to return to wrestling, but he's not headed to AEW as of yet. Okay, and who knows if he's even going to head to AEW. Okay, first let's read something from Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer stated on the latest episode of Wrestling Observer Radio that the free agent isn't expected to become all elite within the next few months or so, or within the next month or so. For now, it looks like Gargano will be sticking to the independents. This doesn't rule out the possibility of Gargano signing for AEW later down the road. However, the 34-year-old has been heavily linked. Later down the road, however, the 34-year-old has been heavily linked to Tony Khan's promotion since leaving WWE in December of 2021. Following this, he elected to take time away from wrestling ahead of and after Quill's birth, supporting Candice, his wife, and who is on maternity leave from the WWE. For now, it seems that while Gargano wants to dip his toes back into wrestling, he isn't trying to tie himself down to a full-time deal as of yet. Okay, so Dave Meltzer saying he's not going to AEW now, but maybe later down the road he will be going to AEW. But the Sportster put something out here. Sportster actually made some sense. So they put out where will Gargano wind up? And we're going to read this here. It says Johnny Gargano could have some great matches in AEW. And Adam Cole said he'd love to bring him in, but there's an argument that AEW is flooded with talent and Gargano might get lost in the shuffle. This way, the way AEW has booked Cole to this point has been underwhelming for fans, and it would be a shame if Gargano was in a place where his talents weren't utilized properly. Perhaps a company like Impact Wrestling could be on Gargano's radar. Okay, so I think that is one of the greatest paragraphs that Sportster has ever put out there. That's one of the best paragraphs in the history of Sportster.com. That makes so much sense. I know Sportster.com, I've had, there's a few things that I've disagreed with them in the past, but I 100% agree with this. And I love the last sentence. Perhaps a company like Impact Wrestling could be on Johnny Gargano's radar. So as of right now, Johnny Gargano doesn't want to sign a full-time deal. He's not going to be signing with AEW. Yeah, and even if he does, think about signing with AEW, does he really want to get lost in the shuffle? Does he really want to go there and be the shiny object that Tony Khan goes on a meteor tour with and proclaims that we have a big surprise coming? We have a big surprise coming next week. You're going to want to tune in to see this huge surprise. I can't tell you what it is yet, but we got a big surprise coming. And then if Johnny Gargano shows up, there's a big pop, and then we don't see Johnny Gargano for the next 3-4 weeks. Keith Lee asked Christian, who hasn't wrestled since dropping the title to Josh Alexander. Ask who else is out there? There's a few others out there. Andrade hasn't really been booked. When he came in like a ball of fire, but he's kind of fizzled out. There are names are escaping me, but there were so much. Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal's another one. They signed Jay Lethal. Yeah, big deal. Jay Lethal going to AEW, and what has he done in AEW? He hasn't really done anything. So does Johnny Gargano want to go there? Does he want to go there and get lost in the shuffle? Does he want to be the Tony Khan's new shiny object, as I said, and show up for a big debut, a big surprise debut, and then we don't see Johnny Gargano again for 3 or 4 weeks, or he's underbooked and he's underutilized in the AEW. Does he want to do that? Or does he want to go to Impact Wrestling where he will be booked at the top of the roster basically immediately? He will be one of the top stars immediately, and he will not be underused in Impact Wrestling. He will be used perfectly. He will be booked perfectly. And as a sense, he doesn't want to sign a full-time deal. Signing with Impact Wrestling is not a full-time deal. Okay, it's not a full-time deal. He might sign on with Impact Wrestling, but he's working what do they have? One taping a month, two tapings a month, maybe. They have one pay-per-view. That's basically what they're doing right now. It's one pay-per-view a month, and they're doing the next day they're doing the TV taping. So he's going to work 2 days a month for Impact Wrestling, and he's got the rest of the month off. And if he wants to go to independent on the independent scene and work some dates there, he could do that, and he could still fulfill his obligations as being, as he said, as being a husband and a father, taking care of his family, being home with them. He can still do that, right? If he signs with Impact Wrestling. And on the flip side, with the AEW, you got to work every month. If they start doing live shows, he's going to start touring with live I'm sorry, not every month. There's possibility of him working every week, but again, if he's underutilized, right? But still, he's still got to show up. You never know what creative plans are going to have from. I'm kind of thinking if he signs a contract with AEW, he's got to be there, every week, just in case. So that's something. Does he want to sign a full-time deal? Okay, you're thinking, well, maybe the money's going to be better, but Impact Wrestling can pay him a good salary. Impact Wrestling could pay him a good salary, and I think at the beginning, if he signs with AEW, you might see him, a lot more. But as the weeks go on, I think he's just going to get lost in the shuffle. I think he's just going to get lost in the shuffle. That's why I think Impact Wrestling need to get a little aggressive here. And I spoke about this on a number of other podcasts. They need to get a little aggressive here. They need to get a little aggressive and make an aggressive offer to Johnny Gargano. They need to make an aggressive offer to Cesaro. Again, says Gargano not wanting to sign a full-time deal, but again, signing with Impact Wrestling is not really a full-time deal. Got to work twice a month, right? Plus, if there's a major pay-per-view, maybe 3 times a month, but that's it. They don't run live shows. They do all the TV tapings in one day. So he could be like he could tape 3 or 4 matches on one day, and that's it, and go home and be a dad, be a husband, like he wants to be. And as I said, he could still hit the independent scene, even if he still wants to go to New Japan Pro Wrestling for a date or two. New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong, he can still do that. I think Impact Wrestling will be a terrific destination for Johnny Gargano. A terrific destination for Johnny Gargano. There's a lot of potentially great matches in Impact Wrestling as well. I know people are saying, "Oh, he's could have better matches in AEW." No, that's not necessarily. Moose versus Johnny Gargano versus the Impact Wrestling World Title would be fantastic. Josh Alexander is coming back, and I hope he comes back soon, because a lot of people want to wrestle Josh Alexander, right? So Johnny Gargano against Josh Alexander would be just pure fire. Gargano against Rich Swann would be fantastic. Gargano against Eric Young versus Jay White, New Japan Pro Wrestling. Anyone from Honor No More will be a great match. If Jonah sticks around longer than Rebellion, be a great match. Gargano against Jonah 101 would be fantastic. And he doesn't have to sign a 2-3 year deal. I'd be happy if Johnny Gargano signed a 1-year deal with Impact Wrestling. And again, he would not get lost in the shuffle in Impact Wrestling. He wouldn't get lost in it. He would be a top star, and he would be used perfectly. He would be used like he should be used in Impact Wrestling. Unlike, again, he goes to AEW. He's the shiny new object. He's the big surprise. He shows up, debuts, he gets a big pop. Maybe we'll see him the next 2 or 3 weeks on AEW, but then he's going to start to fizzle out, because then Tony Khan's going to be looking for the next shiny object to debut, the next shiny object to bring in. So that's how AEW is working right now. So I think Impact Wrestling is a terrific destination for Johnny Gargano. And I know he tweeted out. Let's read Johnny Gargano's tweet. This was tweeted yesterday. He said, "I want to be a free agent at this time for a few reasons. Candace and Quill, the freedom to selectively pick and choose the things I want to do for a bit. That said, here's my contact for potential appearances, business inquiries, etc. Johnny Gargano bookings at hotmail.com. So there you go. He wants to be a free agent. He doesn't want to sign a full-time deal. Signing with him, signing with AEW will be a full-time deal. He'd have to work weekly. At least in the beginning until he starts to fizzle, until the new shiny object comes in and Johnny Gargano fizzles out. But he doesn't want that right now. And again, with Impact Wrestling, he's twice a month tops, 3 times tops. He would have to work for Impact Wrestling. I think it's a Johnny Gargano Impact Wrestling is a perfect marriage. It's a perfect destination for Johnny Gargano. And if I was Scott D'Amore, I hope he sent an email to Johnny Gargano bookings at hotmail.com. I hope he reached out to him. That'll be a great get for Impact Wrestling at Johnny Gargano. So on the flip side of that, well, not on the flip side, but here's what Impact Wrestling should do now. This is what their strategy should be in signing top free agents right now. Because what I just explained about AEW and the shiny new object and how getting lost in the shuffle, Impact Wrestling's strategy right now for getting top free agents should be explaining to people like Gargano, talents like Cesaro, talents like Ember Moon, and other top free agents that, you could go to AEW, you could get a big money contract, but you're going to get lost in the shuffle, and they're not really going to use you the way you want to be used. I know, like Cesaro, for example, left the WWE because he didn't like the way he was being booked. If he goes to AEW and he's a shiny new object, right? He's Tony Khan's shiny new object, and a big surprise coming, and he makes his debut, and then he fizzles out. We don't see him for like 3 or 4 weeks. Is he going to be happy with that? Is Cesaro going to be happy with that? Is Johnny Gargano going to be happy with that? Is Ember Moon going to be happy with that? They want to be used. They're going to sign a contract, and they want to be utilized properly. Impact Wrestling could do that right now. So Impact Wrestling strategy should be, yes, you could sign with AEW for a lot of money, but if you come to Impact Wrestling, we could give you money too. We could give you a good contract. We could make sure you're taken care of. We could give you a big money contract, and you'll be utilized properly in Impact Wrestling. You will be a star for Impact Wrestling. You will be on every single TV show, Impact Wrestling. Every week, you will be featured on Impact Wrestling. Every month, you'll be featured on Impact Wrestling. Every pay-per-view we have, you'll be one of the top guys. You'll be one of the top talents on that pay-per-view. That's it. Or do you want to go to AEW and maybe they'll use you? Maybe Orange Cassidy will be free one night and they can stick you in a match with Orange Cassidy. Maybe Dante Martin will be free one night and they can stick you in a match. Maybe Dark. Maybe we got a spot on Dark for you. You could take on up and coming talent on Dark. Do you want to do that, or do you want to go to Impact Wrestling, or do you want to come here and we have a good contract right here for you, plenty of money, and you'll be utilized the way you're supposed to be utilized. We will make sure that you get top billing here and you will be a star for Impact Wrestling and you won't get lost in the shuffle in Impact Wrestling. That's the strategy Impact Wrestling should be using right now when going after top stars. Because right now, I think wrestlers are starting to see, hey, Tony Khan signing people. He's got a surprise every other week. He's got his, I don't know, I'm going to use it again, shiny new object, a big surprise coming. I think wrestlers are starting to see, wait a minute. I mean, Keith Lee debuted. He was a surprise. And we haven't seen Keith Lee since. I don't think we've seen Keith Lee since. So do I want that to happen? Do I want that to happen to me? I think wrestlers are starting to see, okay, Tony Khan is getting a little out of hand with these debuts and these free agent signings. It's so many, and people are just going there, signing, getting big money contracts. And look at Brian Cage. When Brian Cage came in like a ball of fire, and they're not even using him, they picked up his option, and then they be using Brian Cage. You know what I mean? So does someone like Cesaro want to do that? Does someone like Johnny Gargano want to do that? Or do they want to go to Impact Wrestling? Or do they and become and be used all the time and be involved in meaningful feuds and being at the top of the card and being one of the most important members of the roster, and not just a shiny new object, right? Someone that can really contribute to Impact Wrestling and help Impact Wrestling grow, as opposed to going to AEW and just doing the debut and waving and getting a big pop, and then you don't see them anymore for a couple of weeks. So that's the strategy. That's what Scott D'Amore should be laying out. That's what he should be laying out every time he goes after a big name contract. And again, of course, maybe some of these people, they want some of these talents, they want a big contract, and it doesn't matter. But I think Johnny Gargano, I should say, it doesn't matter if how they're being used. But I think someone like Johnny Gargano or like a Cesaro or Ember Moon, just using those things, I think they want to be used. I think they care. I don't think they want to, sign a big contract and then they have to sit in catering for 3-4 weeks while they're waiting for creative to come up with something for them. I mean, they went through that in the WWE, didn't they? I mean, why would they want to go through that again in AEW? Or they could go to Impact Wrestling, and they'll have plenty to do. They'll have even like Gargano and Cesaro. Again, there's speculation. If they both go to Impact Wrestling, the Gargano versus Cesaro main event, that'll be out of this world, man. So that's the strategy, in my opinion, that Impact Wrestling should be laying out. That's the scenario they should be laying out to any top any top free agent stars or free agent talent that they should be that they're considering bringing in. That's what they should be. I think the wrestling world is seeing that right now. Even Eric Bischoff, he voiced his opinion on Cesaro, saying Cesaro, does Cesaro really want to go to AEW? Does he want to get lost in the shuffle? Does he want to be Tony Khan's shiny new object? Or does he want to do what he wants to do, and go somewhere where he's used meaningfully, such as Impact Wrestling, right? Bischoff didn't mention Impact Wrestling, but I'm mentioning Impact Wrestling. So that's what I feel. That's what Impact Wrestling Scott D'Amore should be doing. That's the strategy they should be using when trying to lure top free agents into Impact Wrestling. And hopefully, Johnny Gargano, we might see him in Impact Wrestling. I think it's a good shot. We'll see him in Impact Wrestling, whether it's 3, 4 months, 3, 4, 5, 6 month contract, doesn't matter. Hopefully, I would love it to be longer, but if they could get Gargano in for like a 6-month contract, I'd be all for that. If Cesaro, they could bring Cesaro in, Ember Moon. I personally think Ember Moon's coming in. I think she's eventually going to be one of the answer one of the open challenges by Deonna Purrazzo. That's what I'm feeling. But Gargano, Cesaro, if they came in, I think it would be. I think it would be fantastic, and I think they'll be very happy in Impact Wrestling because, again, I'm going to say it for like the umpteenth time, Impact Wrestling would utilize their talent properly. They would utilize them the way they should be utilized. They would treat them as stars and not just a Tony Khan big surprise plaything. You know what I mean? Okay, so that's that's how I feel about that. But yeah, so that's my feeling on that. So let me know what you guys think. Let me go if I made sense, if you're with me on this. But yeah, so once again, that's Scott D'Amore. That's hopefully that's if I was Scott D'Amore, that's what I would be doing. That's the scenario and the strategy I would be using to bring top free agent talents into Impact Wrestling. Okay, so we're gonna leave it at that for now. I'm watching the news. Anything breaks, of course, I'll be back. But until then, thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye. Stay safe, everyone. So long. Bye bye.